Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Kate and I film beauty, fashion and lifestyle videos every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. So if you guys haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that right now, and let's jump straight in with the video. So obviously you can tell from the title of today's video that this is a college advice video. So I have about 20 different tips. They're kind of all over the place. Some of them to do with actual school, like getting good grades, advice that I have found has really helped me. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, maybe if you don't follow me on Instagram, you wouldn't know this, but I'm actually an honor student. So I'm in the Beta Gamma Sigma Honors Society at my college, which is the Business Honors Society. So I think they only accept the top 10% of students or something. So yeah, I wanted to share with you some of my tips that have really helped me, getting to where I am now. Because I wasn't always smart. I would say I never really did well in high school, but I only really found that I applied myself. And I think I just found things that worked really well for me in college, and now I'm an honor student, which is crazy. I thought I would never say that. So yeah, anyway, let's jump in with the tips because I have a ton to share with you, so this might be kind of a long video. Okay, so the first thing that has helped me probably the most in college is just allocating your time, so time management. So just not leaving things to the last minute, because I always did that in high school, and you just can't get away with that in college, because even though you're only taking let's say 5 or 6 classes, that's considered a full load of college. It doesn't seem like that much, but it really is, because each class demands so much from you. You have homework and assignments and literally a million things due every single week. So just managing your time is so key, and just not leaving things to the last minute. Because obviously there are some people who do that, but I don't know, the teachers can definitely tell if you've actually put in the work. And I think as long as that you're showing that you put in a lot of work, I think you're going to get the grades that you want. But yeah, I usually try and aim to have things done at least a few days before. That way, especially if you want to check with your professor that you're doing the right thing, you can kind of show them a rough draft of your paper or anything that you're about to hand in. Always do that, because sometimes you have a complicated assignment. I've had those in the past where I'm just not sure if I'm doing the right thing, so I will do a rough draft and then submit it to them, so they can kind of tell me oh yes, you're going in the right direction, or oh no, you need to redo this whole section. That way you're not panicking on the night of, because we've all been there. And just trust me, your work is not the best when you do it late at night and cram it all in. So the second tip is rate my professor. I cannot emphasize this enough, because it is such a helpful website. Obviously this is not sponsored by them, but I just think it's so helpful. So for those of you who don't know what it is, it's kind of a site where you can look up your school and look up your teachers, and there's reviews on them. So people will say how difficult the class was, how much work there was, and what they thought about the teacher. So I just highly recommend you do that before you sign up for your classes, because I feel everyone's had horrible professors before, and it just sucks. I had one for marketing last semester, and I actually used Rate My Professor, and I saw that he didn't have the best reviews and stuff, but it was the only thing that worked for my schedule, and I really just needed this class so that I could move on with my other marketing units. So I just was oh, I'll have to do it, but oh my gosh, he was awful. He was one of those teachers who actually didn't teach. So he would just put on some random marketing video from the 90s and no one would pay attention. Everyone would be on their phones. He would even be on his phone. And then when it came to the final, obviously we didn't know anything, so it was just a mess, a complete mess. And yeah, that was definitely not my greatest class. And I think having a good professor really helps you and influences how well you're going to do in the class. But don't be afraid to take someone, if they're considered a hard teacher as well, because I've taken some hard teachers and it's just been so helpful. Like, I had this one professor and everyone was so intimidated by him. He was my economics professor in like my first year, and he honestly was such a good teacher. Like, yes, he was really tough, but that kind of made you study more, and he would just ask you questions and put you on the spot. But honestly, it just made sure you were so prepared, so when it came to studying, you really didn't have to study too much. And he was so good that I took him for macroeconomics the next semester as well. So yeah, and I really got to know him and he was great. So I highly recommend like using Rate My Professor, but don't be afraid of teachers who are considered hard, because just because they're hard doesn't mean that you're gonna like battle in the class. Like, they could be a tough professor, but you could really excel in that class. So number 3 is something I stand by. Like, I really stand by. So no 8 a.m.s ever. And I mean ever. Like, don't even consider it, because it is the worst decision you will probably ever make. Maybe a bit dramatic, but pretty much. So I remember my first semester of college, I was still living in Australia at this time. This was in 2015. And I decided to take a bunch of morning classes because I thought, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. I can have classes at 8 and I can do like 8 to 11 and then have all of my classes for the day done, and then I can go home and study and all of that stuff. But let's be honest, like, if you're finishing that early, you're probably gonna go home and either like work at your job or end up just like wasting half your time. And honestly, 8 a.m.s are the worst, especially if you commute, because in Australia not many people live on campus. So I had to commute 40 minutes just to get to an 8 a.m. So I would be up at like 6 in the morning just to get there, and it was awful. Your brain, I swear, does not work, or at least mine doesn't. I'm not really a morning person, but just never. I would never take an 8 a.m. Just don't do it. So number 4 is make friends in class for help with homework or to get notes. This is a huge tip, because obviously when you first go to college, you won't know a lot of the people when you get there, but definitely just make friends with someone in the class. Like, if you see someone, like a girl sitting behind you or next to you, just like instantly just be like, hey, like, can I get your number, just in case like I miss a class, so I can get notes, and then I know when the assignment's out, just something like that. People are never going to say no. I've always had like people be really nice about that stuff, and I recommend you do that, because there are times where, you know, you're maybe sick, and then, I don't know, in college the teachers don't baby you, so they're going to say, well, you need to get the notes from someone else. Like, I'm not going to fill you in on what you missed. Like, that is your responsibility to come prepared for the next class, fully aware of what you missed. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Okay, so number 5, this is crucial, and let me tell you, I never ever did this in high school. So I really recommend that you guys sit in the first 2 rows of your class. In high school, I would always sit in like the middle row or the back row. I never wanted to be up front, because usually those are the people who have to answer all of the questions, and I just hated being put on the spot, and I just didn't want to be spoken to in class. So but yeah, I had someone give me this advice when I first went to college, and I thought, oh, okay, let me just try it for like one class and we'll see. And now I do it for every single class. Every single class, I try and sit in the first 2 rows, because it just makes you focus. Like, if you're sitting in the back, you can be scrolling on your phone, on Instagram, getting distracted. If you're in the first 2 rows, they will notice if you're on your phone, and that is not okay. And you kind of have to pay attention, because the teacher is constantly like staring at you or just putting you on the spot for questions. But I just find that this helps so much, because then you're more interactive in the class, and I just find that this helps you study better later, because I find as long as I'm like present in the class, I will sometimes even remember like what the teacher said or a question that I answered when I'm taking a test. So I don't know, I just think that is the best thing. It's sometimes very nerve-wracking being in the first 2 rows, but even if your professor is hard, just do it. And then also, that's a great way for your professor to get to know you, and that really helps when it comes to grading time. Okay, so number 6 is read the material prior to class. In high school, if they were like, oh, read this chapter and come in and we'll discuss it or something, I would not always do it. Sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't, but in college, this is so necessary to come prepared. That is one of the biggest tips I can like give you in terms of studying and doing well, because Like, it's just so helpful. So when you go into class and you actually have read like the textbook, then you actually kind of know what you're talking about. So when it comes to class, it just kind of like, I don't know, just sinks in better. I remember my first ever accounting class, we were told to read the first chapter or something before we went to college. We hadn't even started yet, and I remember I tried to read this chapter. I think it was only 30 pages long, and I remember being stuck on page 1 because I just didn't understand a thing. I was not used to like doing accounting or anything else, because for those of you who don't know, I used to do nutrition before this. This was a completely different degree, and I actually broke down and cried because I just thought, oh my gosh, this is chapter 1. How can I do this if I just, like, I don't understand anything? And I remember I was like beside myself because I was like, what have I gotten myself into? Why did I change my degree? Like, completely freaking out. And then I went to class the next day, and so I kind of knew, like, I'd read the textbook, so I knew some things, but I didn't know obviously everything. But then when the teacher spoke about it, my brain just clicked, and I was like, oh, now I get it. And it wasn't that hard. It's just, I just think that reading the textbook just puts you like a little step forward. You know, that way if you do get put on the spot and you have to answer a question, you at least know like some of what you're talking about. It might not be perfect, but the teacher will at least appreciate that you have read the textbook because you are coming prepared, and that kind of puts you in a better position than everyone else. Number 7 is keep track of your assignments. So this is kind of tied in with like the time management thing, but definitely do this. I know when I get my syllabus every semester, I take like my little journal, or I put it in like my calendar, and I just write out when everything is due. If there is a date there and it says there's a test here or an assignment due here, just write it down, because at least you know when you look into like your little calendar or your journal, you know, hey, in 2 weeks I have this assignment due. I really need to get started on this, or something like that, because there is nothing worse than not being prepared and then all of a sudden going, wait, what? That assignment's due tomorrow? I haven't started. Just, if it's in the syllabus, just write it down. Okay, so number 8 is definitely go to office hours. So I would never go to an office hours. I don't know, I just like, you don't want to be there one-on-one with the teacher. Like, I don't know, I never wanted to do that originally, but it helped so much in my economics classes because economics was really hard. But honestly, you could get a pretty good grade if you just went and saw the teacher. Like, that's enough. Like, I would go in and see the teacher whenever we had assignments, and he would pretty much do the assignment with you. Like, he would go through the graphs, like show you how to do it, talk you through it, and you could just kind of like write it down and then get at least partial credit for knowing, you know, what, I don't know, just, he would just really help you out, and it was great. So definitely go to office hours because it shows that you are someone who cares about the work. Even if you don't, just force yourself to go. You'll be there for like half an hour max, and it'll just really help you and also allow the teacher to put a name to the face. Okay, so number 9 is don't buy your textbooks before the first day, and also rent them. So I remember my first day of college, I bought all of my textbooks. You know, a textbook can be like $300-400, so it's very, very expensive, and college is already expensive enough. So just do not go there on the first day with all of your books bought. Chances are the first week, you're not even going to actually be doing any work. They're just going to be introducing you to the course. Like, you might not have to actually read anything. And that's just like one of my biggest tips, because often you will get in class and the teacher will be like, oh, okay guys, so you are going to love me because you guys don't actually have to buy that expensive textbook that is on your syllabus. And then you're sitting in class going, oh, I already bought it and I opened it, and now I can't return it, and I just spent $300 or $400 that I could have spent on clothes or makeup or literally just anything else. So just don't do it to yourself. So I always wait for at least the first day, and then the teacher will tell you like, these are the textbooks that you actually need for the class, and then I will place my order. And also, just if you can, rent your textbook, because it is so much cheaper than buying it. Because when you buy a textbook, especially if it's like brand new, it's going to be $400. then you're probably going to want to highlight in it, you're going to want to do stuff to it, and then when it comes to selling it at the end of the year, you might forget to sell it, it might not be in great condition, you might only get like less than half the value for it. So just rent your textbooks. It's so much easier. You can rent them from the school or Amazon or anything like that, and I just find that it's way cheaper just to do that. So yeah. So number 10 is don't study in your dorm, use a private study room or the library instead. So I'm not someone who likes to go to the library. I find that it's sometimes a little like either too quiet for me, or there's just people talking, and I don't know, I just don't love going to the library. It's not a place that I can actually study in, and you just cannot study in your dorm because your dorm is so tiny. You have like a tiny little desk, and then you have your bed. So you're either going to be studying on your bed or you're going to be studying at your desk, and you have all of your things in your room, like your laptop and your TV, so you might get distracted and everything like that, and then you're actually not going to end up studying. I know I've said that a few times, like, oh, I'm gonna go and study straight after class, and then I'll end up watching an episode on Netflix, and then it will be 2 episodes and 3 episodes, and then I'll only get to doing my work, when I could have just gone to a study room and just like banged it out in like an hour or 2 and then had the rest of the day free. So definitely do that. I know colleges have study dorms or study rooms like everywhere. I think we had them like ours was like right outside my dorm, which was really convenient, but they're kind of placed everywhere. So just go and grab one. There's always at least one free, and grab your stuff and just sit in this room and force yourself to do your work so you don't have to worry about it later. Okay, so number 11, don't skip your classes. Just don't. We have all skipped classes in the past. Especially that marketing course that I was talking about, when I realized the teacher didn't actually teach us, I kind of just stopped going. Like towards the end, the last few classes, I was like, I actually don't learn anything, so I'm just gonna not go and then just study myself. But for most courses, please just don't skip them, just don't. Because I find that just going there, you know, even if it's an easy course, just go there. The teacher often like gives away little hints about like what's going to be in the test, or can help you with the assignment, or just speak about something that's maybe not in the textbook that you should know for your test. And I just find that it's so helpful being in a class, because I don't know if anyone else is like this, but when it comes to me like taking a test, I often remember like I can kind of picture like what the class was like. I can like remember that they wrote something very specific on the board, or I wrote it down in my book when I was there, and that really helps me in the test. So definitely just go to your classes, because it's only going to help you when it comes to your test and just make it easier when you have to study. Like that's what I'm about. I'm not about studying for like 10 hours in a day. I'm that person who studies smart, which is what everyone should be doing, because then you only need to study for, let's say, like 2-3 hours or something, and you just study a little bit each day. And so when it comes to the actual final and you're going to all your classes, you kind of know everything anyway, and you should be able to recall some of it from class and also your studying. So it just makes it so much easier. Number 12 is it's okay not to know what you want to do and change your major. There is some like ridiculously large statistic. I think it's like 80% of college students change the major at least once, and I am one of those people. As I was telling you guys, I actually took nutrition for 2 years in Australia, and I really thought I wanted to be a dietitian, but then I didn't realize until I got to college how much chemistry is involved. In Australia, college degrees are 3 years, so I had done majority of my degree already. I only had 1 year left, and I just decided to not continue. I just could not handle the chemistry. I never did it in high school. I did not understand how it worked. I would cry. I would go to the teacher. Like, my brain just doesn't process it, and I just don't understand it. I don't know what it is. I can't do it. And so eventually I was like, okay, I'm just not going to do it. When I came to America, I just thought, I can't do this. So I took time off school, and then I think like 8 months later, I realized how awful working like a really terrible, like low paying job was, and I went back to school, and I actually saw like a counselor, like a college counselor or something like that. So if you're unsure, maybe go and speak to someone like that, because he helped me a lot and kind of made me realize that I was more suited to going into the business side of things, and now I'm a marketing major and I love my degree, and that obviously shows, you know, because I'm doing really well. I think when you find something that you really like, you're going to excel in it. So don't be afraid to like change your major. I mean, I was supposed to graduate like last year, I think, or maybe this year, and now I'm going to only graduate in 2 years. So instead of taking, you know, 4 years to get a degree, which is the American, like how long it takes you to get a degree in America, it's going to take me 6 years just to get my bachelor's. But you know what, I'm okay with that, because I would rather, you know, get a degree in something that I actually love and something that I actually want to do than, you know, just get a degree and just finish what I was originally doing when I didn't even like it. So just don't stress about it. It's okay not to know what you want. I only realized after like 2.5 years that I actually wanted to do something else. So you know what, that's okay, and pretty much everyone does it. So 13 is get into a routine for the gym and grab a buddy. So I remember my first semester of college in America, and I didn't go to the gym. I used to go to the gym all the time, and then all of a sudden I was in this strange routine of having like weird classes. I know I also had night classes, which really sucked, and I just like couldn't get myself to go to the gym. And sometimes it honestly is a bit intimidating, especially when there's like really no girls in the gym and it's pretty much just all like athlete guys, and they're taking up all the equipment and everything like that. And I don't know, sometimes I can get kind of nervous when I'm in the gym. So it really helps if you have a little buddy and you get into a routine, and then eventually you can start going on your own. So my second semester, I used to go to the gym with one of my best friends, Arisa, all the time. Like we would go at least like 3 days a week, and we would go like every time, like let's say like 5 p.m. that was like our time to go. So we would go there together. And then it's nice because she had ideas for like workouts that I hadn't done before, and I had some for her. So it really helped, and it's just great when you have a friend there to help you, because you know, it's tough going to the gym, and at least this motivates you and makes you go because your friend's going, so you're not going to just ditch her and just not go. So yeah, and then eventually you get so used to going that you can just go on your own. So I definitely think that's really important, because obviously working out is really important for your mental health, and just kind of lets you relieve all of your stress, whether it's just walking on the treadmill or lifting some weights, which is what we used to do. So just doing like something like that, something where you're not studying, you're just like exercising, and it just makes you like feel better about yourself when you're going to the gym. So I just recommend doing it. You don't have to go every day, but like 3 days a week is perfect. So that's what I recommend. And then the other thing is kind of like tied into this. So it's be mindful of what you're eating. So when you go to college, every college is different, but I know mine, you had like a meal plan on like your little card, and let's say it has like just over $1,000 in it, and then you use it to pay for like each of your meals. I know some people have like a meal plan where it's you tap your card and you have one meal now. Ours is different. It's all by like money, so how you would regularly pay on like a debit card kind of thing. So yeah, and it's just really hard to eat healthy in college because there is so much like unhealthy food. Like there was always pizza available, pastas, like buffalo chicken. I like buffalo chicken. Like just everything that you can imagine. And then there's like a salad bar in the middle that never looks too appetizing because the salad's probably been sitting there for a few hours before you got there. So it's kind of hard to, you know, eat healthy. But I would just try and just make healthy alternatives. So I know like if you got a pizza, you could also get a gluten-free pizza as well. Or just like make your, like if you're getting a wrap with chicken, just like, you know, get the grilled chicken instead of the like crispy chicken, and like add in all your veggies and stuff like that. That way it's not like, you know, super like gross. Like I would never eat those salad bar things. Like they just looked so gross to me, and just, oh, you never know like what's in it. It's so gross. I know at our school, like we were really lucky. We had a sushi bar as well. So I ate a ton of sushi, and I would always just choose like salmon and avocado, like something so you can get some of like your fish in. And I know like fish oil is really great for your skin and stuff like that. So just try and make like healthy alternatives. And same thing when you're grabbing like your coffee, like just, you know, get a coffee instead of like a frappuccino or something like that, because there is always like healthier options available. You just kind of have to be active about it and like purposely know that you're gonna eat like well. Obviously if you want to, you don't have to eat well, but I never put on the like freshman 15 or whatever it's called. In fact, in my first semester of college in America, where I was living in a dorm, I actually lost 13 pounds. So I literally did the opposite, but that was unhealthy because I just wasn't pushing myself to go and eat. You know, it would just be like, it wasn't like it was far to go and eat. It was more, it was sometimes like open at weird times where like I wasn't able to go and grab food, or like in the morning it would be open like pretty late. So like it wouldn't be open at 8, it would be open at like 9 or like 11 on the weekends, which is kind of crazy. But I don't know, just push yourself to go eat, because I was that person who was like, oh, I'll just grab some ramen and just eat that. Like, you know, no, go and grab yourself some actual food and eat, and obviously try and make healthy choices if you can. So that's what I advise. And also like when I had my second semester, I put all that weight back on, so don't worry about that. Second semester, it was a lot easier. I was in my routine, I was working out and eating healthier, so now I'm back to normal. Number 15 is clean up after yourself. Please, this is like important when you're living in a dorm, because I like roomed with this one girl. Well, she wasn't my roommate, she was my suite mate, and she was disgusting. Like, that's just like all I have to say, because she was just, I don't know, she was just so gross, and I just don't understand how someone can live like that, especially when you have like 6 girls in your suite. So, you know, you kind of have to clean up after yourself. Like, I don't expect everyone to be like a neat freak or anything. I am definitely not a neat freak, but just like clean up after yourself, because she would leave like hair in the drain in the shower, and like just her hair, I guess, just like fell out a lot because it was all over the bathroom floor. There was one day like I was sweeping the floors because no one was cleaning, and it was just like this pile of her hair, and she had black hair, so obviously I knew it was her, and because everyone else in my suite had like hair like lighter than mine and blonde. So yeah, but it was just like so gross. She was so gross. And like, I know over winter break she stayed there alone because she was an athlete, and I came back and like there was food in the fridge that had gone off, and she would use like other people's like glasses, and then I remember she used my wine glass, and when I came back my RA was like, girl, there's something in your glass that I know you didn't put in there, but it's now solid. So I don't know what it was, but we just threw it away. But yeah, just like really gross stuff. Like, just clean up after yourself. Like, pick up your hair. You don't have to be like a neat freak. Pick up your hair. Just like clean up your dishes. And I don't know, she would just like, she was just so awful. I just don't understand it. Like, she would never speak to anyone. She would just keep to herself. She would have like strange phone calls at like 3 in the morning with people, I don't know, with like random people. And then, I don't know, she was just like not good. And she would take like people's food, and she would just, I don't know, it was just weird. And just don't be like her and you'll get on fine with your roommates. So okay, so number 16, this is about like Greek life. So why I didn't join a sorority. I know a lot of girls do, and like guys obviously like join frats and girls join sororities, and that's a huge thing in America. And coming from Australia, I really wanted to get like the full American college experience, and I like went to this like meet the Greeks thing and sat and listened to all of the sororities. I went and spoke to all of them. This wasn't like Rush, this was just like meeting everyone, and Rush was like later that week. And I'd met some really lovely girls, and I really was intending on rushing, but the main reason I didn't was just like the finances of it, because like I feel like no one ever speaks about this on YouTube, because I watched like a ton of videos when I was interested in rushing. Sororities are expensive, like it's not cheap. I think for like your dues for the whole year, like some of the sororities, at least at my school, were like over $1,000. I think one of them was like $1,400 for the year. And then like obviously sometimes it includes like certain t-shirts too, but like I don't know, just, and it involves, and it also includes like your formal and like semi-formal, I guess, but there's also a lot of other things. Like, I know I have a lot of friends in like sororities and fraternities, so if you don't go to certain events, like you're gonna get fined, and that's more money, and it's just a lot of money. And because I go to like a small private school, a lot of my friends just say it's really not that worth it to be in Greek life, because it's not like down south where like you can stay in like these big sorority houses and it's like a huge thing. But I don't know, at my school, like a lot of people say like honestly it's not that worth it, so I didn't actually do it. I kind of thought, hey, like maybe next semester or like the next year I'll think about like rushing, because I don't know, I just love the idea of like, you know, having lots of girlfriends, because I've always been that girl who has a ton of guy friends. Like I actually sit with a fraternity, so like that's who I like hang out with, is like a fraternity, and then a few girls that I know who are friends with like that fraternity too. But I've always wanted to have more girlfriends, but I feel like girls don't usually like me, so yeah, I thought that would be great. And it just sounded so great, you know, when you're first coming into college, you don't know anyone, and this is a great way to meet people. So definitely if you want to do it, go for it. But I know for myself, like I pay for college, so I have loans and it's very expensive already, and I just couldn't justify like, you know, getting into more debt or using like my own private funds instead of a loan to cover like sorority expenses when people say it's not that great at my school. So okay, so number 17, get involved, and there's something for everyone. So I obviously am not in Greek life, but every single college has a ton of different clubs that you can join, like a ton of different clubs. I'm in the International Student Association Club, and that's literally just a club for like international and domestic students to come together, and it really helps the international students so they feel like they're not the only like new people, and it's just great to meet people from other places and cultures, and it's really interesting. And we do a lot of like fun events and host like movie nights, and just it's kind of like a fun club to be in. And I actually was the public relations director, the director of public relations for that, so it's kind of nice to just also have that on your resume. Great to have clubs on your resume actually. But yeah, I think that's a really fun club. So obviously there's something for everyone. There's intramural sports, there's like, I know there's like car clubs if you're really into cars. There's also like stuff related to like your major, so if you're in engineering, there's engineering societies. I'm marketing, so we have the American Marketing Association, which is like a very prestigious association in America, and I wasn't that active last semester because it kind of clashed with my International Student Association, and because I was on the e-board for that, I kind of couldn't skip that. So this semester I've actually am not keeping that position. We have someone else doing it for next year, and I'm going to be way more involved in marketing because I just feel like that's really going to help me when it comes to my degree. There's just a ton of clubs in general where you can meet people, and that's how I met my best friends. Was my best friend Cami. She's from Brazil, and so I met her through the International Student Association. She then introduced me, she kind of like took me in, and we're the same age, but she was a senior, so she kind of took me in as like her little child, and she introduced me to like her friends, Arisa, so she's now also my best friend, and then she introduced me to this fraternity that I'm friends with, and we all sit together, and it's just a lot of fun. So don't feel like that you need to join Greek life just to make friends. You can make friends in your classes, you can make friends in clubs, and I think clubs are a great way to make friends because you obviously have something in common with whatever the club is. So yeah, so we're almost at the end. So 18 is make time to socialize, and it's okay to keep your weekends free. So I remember my first semester, I would study all day Saturday, study all day Sunday, and then I would try and go out like Friday and Saturday nights. But that wasn't always great because like by the way, I was 21, so don't worry, that was the semester I turned 21. But yeah, I don't know, it's not always great because then you're sometimes like hungover the next day and it's kind of hard to study. But if you can, I try and kind of pack my weekdays like a lot, so I can try and like study a lot, get a lot of assignments done. So when it comes to the weekends, I can kind of do whatever I want, which is great because my boyfriend doesn't go to college, so he works like 5 days a week, so I get to see him on weekends. So that's really great because we can hang out, I can go see friends, I can go out if I want to, and then sometimes like if I really do have a lot of work, I will obviously like spend the weekend doing work too, but just try and like leave some time to socialize because that's so important. Like you can't just go to college just to like get a degree and be out of there. Like college is supposed to be like some of the best years of your life, so really take the time to take advantage of things, like go to some parties, go to like a darty if there is one, like go out, have fun. Like it's okay to let loose and yeah, just do it and just have fun and just don't stress about studying all the time because studying obviously is very important, but it's not everything and you really need a good balance. Okay, so number 19, this is like a very big one for the girls out there, is I'm sure all of your moms have probably warned you about this, but watch your drink. So I know a lot of people who have had their drinks spiked. There has been tons of things happening like this at lots of places that I've been to. I feel like I haven't really heard of it happen at a party, but more at actually like clubs and like bars and places that you would go to. Just watch your drink. It's so important because you never know like who is there who could be like, you know, really creepy and he sees, oh look, a pretty girl, I can get her to go home with me or something like that. I know it's a horrible like subject to talk about, but I don't know, I just feel like it's very important to just watch your drink. Like if you order a drink, like keep it with you, finish it, hold it, just don't let it out of your sight, don't put it down somewhere, and if you do, just don't pick it back up because the chances are is something could have happened to it. Obviously it might not have, but these things do happen, so don't think that it doesn't. Yeah, so just be really careful about that because I know a lot of people who have had that happen to them, and that's such an awful thing, and you never know like who's there and what could happen, so just be really mindful of that. And obviously don't accept a drink from like a complete random stranger. Fair enough if it's some guy and he wants to buy you a drink, but go with him to the bar and actually watch the bartender make it and give it to you. Don't just take it from him. Like just use your brain, that's all I'm saying. Just like be smart when you're going out. So as a girl, you always have to be careful. The last one I have is like not really related to this, but like kind of. So it's, you might not find your love in college, and that's okay. So college, like I feel like every adult tells me that, oh my gosh, I met the love of my life in college and we got married, and maybe that's how it used to be like back in the day, but I feel like now with social media and apps like Tinder and Bumble, like that is not what it is anymore. Maybe it still is, but not from my experience. I feel like when people are in college, they're really not looking for anything serious. You know, a lot of people are very focused on their studies or their sports or something like that. So they're like, if they're an athlete, they're very focused on that. And a lot of people are very focused on themselves, which is obviously like totally fine. But just like go into it knowing that like, just because some guy like thinks you're pretty and you guys are like, I don't know, like you go out on a few dates, doesn't mean that he is going to be the love of your life, because chances are like he probably doesn't want a relationship. And I know a lot of girls are like this too. So I feel like most people in college, the famous line is, I'm not looking for a relationship. Like, you know, like they're just looking for like something fun or something casual, and that I feel like is what most people want in college. And obviously that's not for everyone, but I just kind of want you guys to go into it knowing that, because obviously you could find the love of your life in college, but I just feel like based off at least like my school, like everyone has, it's a big like hookup culture in college. So just go in knowing that and just be smart about things, like do whatever you want, but just don't get yourself hurt. I know some of my friends, like, you know, they have really wanted like a boyfriend or something like that, and guys just keep blowing them off because a lot of people don't want a commitment when they're in college, you know. So yeah, obviously it's different for me. Like I found my boyfriend who I love so much and I'm so lucky to have. But he was out of college. That's the difference. Like, I'm still in college, but he has like a full-time job, so he's an adult, and he is turning 25 this year, so it's a little bit different with him. But I know a lot of my friends, like, I'm constantly hearing and like seeing them getting hurt by guys because they don't want anything from them when it feels like they've kind of been leading them on. So this is just some like girl advice right here, is just go into it knowing that like most people don't want anything serious in college, and that's totally fine. But if you're one of those girls who wants something more, then be strong. Don't let some guy like walk all over you. Like, you don't need them, and just wait until something else comes along, whether it's a guy from out of college or maybe someone who is in college who just wants a bigger commitment. Like, if you're one of those girls who wants something, just wait for it, because something will come. So yeah, that is my last bit of advice. So yeah, that is everything I have to tell you guys. I'm sure there's more I could have put in there, but I felt like 20 was already enough. I think I've already been filming for like an hour. So yeah, very long video. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions at all, feel free to leave them in the comments below or send me a DM on Instagram. I'm happy to help you guys out with any other questions that you have. I haven't mentioned this before, or maybe I have, but this is actually a college series. So this is episode 1 of multiple like episodes that I have coming. So yeah, this is episode 1. I know these videos really helped me when I went to college, like, and lived in a dorm for the first time last year. So I really wanted to make my own based on my own experiences. So I hope you guys really love this video, and I think there's at least 3 more other videos coming, so stay tuned for those. And I'll put them all in a little playlist called like college series or something like that, so they're easy for you guys to find. But yeah, if you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and do that, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.